when you learn something with enjoyment, you learn it the best way. And it's not just for children, it's for anybody. Even for me, when I enjoy what I'm learning, I learn it the best. So we have the same approach for children too, and children are super creative. They can get so creative that they give me ideas as to how I should be talking to them and getting them to learn things. So we respect children, we respect their individuality, we respect their creativity. So we go their way. We really mold to the child's personality and their way of learning and understanding anything.
Welcome to episode 12 of the Learn and Unlearn podcast, where I have a conversation with Madhumita Bhaskar. Madhumita is the founder of Shrota House, India's first of its kind venture that works on early exposure to Indian classical music in children. Shrota House also focuses on building an enthusiastic and knowledgeable audience base for Indian classical music. Let's get started. Welcome, Madhumita. It is great to have you in the show.
Thank you, Gautam. Thank you for inviting me. My pleasure.
To start with, can you please tell us about your vision behind starting Shrota House, as well as your journey?
Our venture, Shrota House, is focused on providing early music exposure to young children. We also aim at building knowledgeable audiences for Indian classical music in India. That's our vision. My journey actually started off as a personal journey, because I have been a student of music since an early age. I have had a very music loving family. So I naturally used to listen to a lot of classical music at home. At home, my mother also encouraged me to listen to music. They helped me join Bharatnatyam classes. So that way, music was part of my life since my childhood. And I had a liking towards singing. And I used to repeat songs that I used to listen on TV, for example. I used to pick up songs from the radio, and I used to love it. I used to absolutely love music. And over a period of time, I joined formal music lessons, and I discovered the aspects of classical music learning thanks to my guru, Professor Milind Malshe. So I pursued Hindustani classical music since the age of 11. The whole idea of learning the concepts of classical music was extremely interesting to me, because I feel that as children, we might get different impressions of what classical music actually is. We might form different impressions based on how it is put to us. So, as a child, I was fortunately extremely fond of the way music was introduced to me. And my guru, Professor Malshe, used to hold weekly concerts. He used to hold concerts at his house every week on Thursdays, and I used to attend it with my father. So, in spite of learning music formally, I used to learn so much by just going to those concerts every week without fail. And this continued for many years, and I learned so many things about Indian classical music concepts, the presentation skills, how we present the rags, how we improvise. It's because Hindustani music is a lot of improvisation. So a lot of things I learned through by going to concerts. So that's something I was very fortunate to have been exposed to. As I grew up, I did not have too many friends who used to go to music concerts, who used to like to go to music concerts, who could enjoy this art form as much as I did. And I wondered why, because they didn't have enough exposure to the music. Maybe they found it a little too slow, or as opposed to any dance numbers that they might have preferred. I observed these things over a period of many years, and I did my engineering. I went to work, and wherever I went, I found this was the case. And children were really not naturally attracted to Indian classical music unless there was music at home, from the beginning, or unless they had an innate love for the art form, innate love to reproduce music in the form of singing or playing an instrument. When I became a mother, I found that I found this with my child, that he was very interested in listening to music, but not necessarily interested in reproducing music. I found the layers of understanding of Indian classical music that happens in children, and they grasp it really well. It reinforced the belief in me that as children, we can fall in love with any art form or anything that is presented to us if it is done in a way that we like, right? Some kids like it through a lot of drama, some like it through a lot of painting and colors. So there are different ways of approaching children with what you need, what you want to give them. Thinking about all this, so this is like years of thought and observation that led me to start my venture, to be able to make Indian classical music interesting for children. Indian classical music has a lot of rich content, and it can please your intellect, emotions, your spirit at the same time. And music as such is extremely beneficial for children. It helps in their brain development. It forms so many different connections in their brains. And we all know, and it's scientifically proven, that music helps in the development of a child. And I said, Indian classical music is our treasure, and why not give that to our children? And let us not restrict them to the songs that they usually are supposed to listen to, but let's give them an opportunity to appreciate our music. So I thought, why not do that? And that sort of gave way to my venture, Shrota House. Shrota means a listener. So our venture focuses on listeners and building good listeners of music, and we have chosen Indian classical music as our primary form of music that we would be focusing on. That's how I turned my personal observations and inspirations into a venture. And my son played a big role in this, in coming up with this idea, because I used to do a lot of musical conversations with him, and I came up with a lot of ideas of as to how to get our beautiful music to our beautiful children. So a lot of ideas came from my personal experience. And as far as the business itself goes, so it all started as a massive open online course, which I did. And the program was called Women Startup Program. There were about 11,500 plus women who applied for this course. So, being an artist and being an engineer, for me, entrepreneurial learning was very new and extremely exciting. And I learned a lot through that course. And once we finished that course, few of us were selected through rounds of pitching to move to the next phase of pre incubation. Finally, we were 210 of us who were selected for incubation at NSR Cell IIMB. So our venture, Shrota House, is one of those few ventures. The timing of all of this was so perfect. My idea fruiting into a venture and that being incubated at IIMB is something that happened, I think, out of God's will, if I must say. So I'm extremely fortunate to be in this journey.
Wonderful. As you rightly mentioned, we need to give exposure of music to children in a way that they would appreciate. So, how do you go about it in Shrota House?
Yes. So we are not a traditional music school. Our approach is a little different. We sort of do a lot of verbal narratives. We have stories that we tell children. And one of our sessions also includes a little bit of artwork. So we do a lot of sketching. So we do all of this to get them understand the concept, probably in an indirect way, if I may say so. We do not directly give them the content up front, but we give it through many different activities, games, for example, that they enjoy doing. And our aim is to make them enjoy the learning process. So we try to not have them learn it in a certain way, but the whole idea is to get them to enjoy those few hours they are with us through music. And we help them understand that music is a medium through which you can enjoy so many different things. And in the process they sort of learn a lot of concepts of Indian classical music, which they probably might not have been interested to do if presented to them in any other way. So we're trying out a lot of new things, and we are extremely happy to tell you that all of our children as of today are absolutely in love with what they're learning, and for us that is a definite measure of success.
Absolutely. And you were also mentioning that you don't have examinations. Can you please talk about that as well?
Yes, of course. We, of course, are dealing with children who are less than 8 years old. And for them, examination is probably too big a word, if I may say so. For any child, I believe that children are able to innately test themselves. Okay, they will probably apply what they're learning in various other things that they're doing, and that's a kind of test, that they do for themselves. So I believe that giving them a kind of examination at that age especially is not something that we would like to encourage. We would just focus on their enjoyment. When you learn something with enjoyment, you learn it the best way. And it's not just for children, it's for anybody. Even for me, when I enjoy what I'm learning, I learn it the best. So we have the same approach for children too, and children are super creative. They can get so creative that they give me ideas as to how I should be talking to them and getting them to learn things. So we respect children, we respect their individuality, we respect their creativity. So we go their way, we really mold to the child's personality and their way of learning and understanding anything. And music is of course such a beautiful topic, a lot of beautiful things coming together. We do not let any examination or any kind of evaluation thing come in the way of learning. We of course do evaluation from our end without letting them know that we're probably doing it, just to probably get a hang of how much of the content is actually being taken in by the child, right? They don't have to sit and write exams, because I believe that sort of spoils the whole purpose of our approach.
That's great. I'm curious to know how the learning is structured for children.
Well, the structure as such is, because of the pandemic, we have our sessions online. But as far as the sessions go, we hold it at a time that is convenient for the children. So we do not have, say, for example, classes on every Saturday and only on Saturdays. So we let the parent of the child, especially, decide the day in which the child is available and does not have any other school activities, for example, and we do not want to interfere in their playtime as well. So we let the parent choose the day in which the child would like to attend the class or session with us. And our sessions are not very long, they last for at the most 45 minutes. That is to cater to the child's attention span and their maintaining their level of interests. Once the parents decide the day and time, we hold the sessions for them in those times, and we're very flexible. So one of our sessions is almost like a practice with me kind of a session. It's called Madhu Swar Sketches. So what we do is we practice the notes of music, the 7 notes with them, do 30 minutes of practice in the days chosen by the parents, and we have small batches of children, and we do not mostly exceed it beyond 5 children in a batch. So that's how we have structured our sessions to cater to each child individually, because each child is unique. Some children are they speak a lot and some don't. Some like to listen more than watch me do things, so we sort of keep in mind all of these things, and we go with the child's pace. And if the child is not in a mood to attend a class, we don't force them to say, okay, you can attend next session. So we sort of give them session credits. So even if they miss out on a session, they don't have to worry about missing out on the content of the session. So our structure is extremely flexible. Yeah.
Good. This helps the children. They'll feel that they are not being pushed.
Correct, exactly. And I think that makes a lot of difference, because pushing the child to do something versus having them ask for it. There's a lot of difference between the two, and that is half the battle won. So,
Exactly.
and that's been our approach, and that is going to be our approach going forward.
Wonderful. So, as a parent, how do I encourage my child to pursue Indian classical music when I have not been exposed to this during my childhood? For instance, when I looked up your YouTube profile,
Mm-hmm.
I mainly listened to the Bollywood covers
Mm-hmm.
and not the Indian classical music
Right,
videos.
right.
So, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, this is actually one of my favorite questions because this is exactly what we are looking at Shruta House. In today's generation, classical music is sort of becoming prevalent in the sense it's there is so much of content available online. They have the option to access that content, really accessing the content and be able to appreciate the content with the help of your elders. These two things really help in building their interests. As a parent now, you have the option of having a child listen to whatever kind of music. There is in fact too much content, so you probably don't know where to start and how to go about giving a child the right kind of introduction to the art piece.
Exactly.
So when it comes to that, um, you might want to start with, say, shorter pieces of music. Considering the child does not have a lot of attention span, they like to run around and do a lot of things with that involve drama and action. So it's not that you have to force your child to sit and listen to it. There are various sides of Indian classical music, and a child can get attracted to any of it. He can get attracted to the tonal part of it. He can get attracted to the instruments that are being played. She can get attracted to the percussion side of it. There are so many things that he can visually see in, for example, a concert that's happening online right from the comfort of their home. So they see how a person sits on the stage, what kind of instruments are being played, if the parents really make an attempt, right? So we encourage parents to give a fair chance to Indian classical music, and to have that fall in the ears of the child, right? We should put aside our likings of the music and have the child listen to a lot of different kinds of music, in general, be it Western classical, Indian classical, dance numbers, um, folk music, regional music. At the end of the day, music is music. So it would be nice if parents are not partial towards any one form of music. And when it comes to Indian classical music, we hope that they don't put their personal, likings or preferences on the child. We just have the child enjoy the music and give classical music a fair chance to reach their ears, right? It's just about that. So once it reaches their ears, there are a lot of educators and music lovers who would be able to mold the children to pursue it further, right? So the first responsibility comes from the parents to just have them listen to this art form as much as they are listening to any Bollywood piece, right? Parents are so busy with their lives, they have their work pressure, there are so many household things to look after. They're taking a lot of effort to have these online classes, sit with their children. So a lot of things that they're doing, and to take time exclusively to do one or two hobbies is probably not possible for everyone. One nice thing that I used to do with my child was I used to put some instrumental classical pieces as loris for my child. It's not like teaching him anything, it's not like make him listen to it exclusively. He does his own activities, he's playing around, he's sleeping, he's eating, and there is some music that is being played to him in the background, and there's a lot of indirect influence it has in the child, and that sort of tunes his ears to the music much better. Maybe you can try do that. That really helps. The more they listen to, the more they understand it inside themselves. It's a lot of assimilation, a lot of absorption of music that they do. I listen to a lot of different music, and then I realize the speciality of each kind of music. And I wish every child gets to experience this at a young age, and let them make their choices later on. And only when they see, the palette of things put to them, they'll get to choose from it. So if our little pickle or little dal is not there in the plate at all, they'll never get to taste it. They will never know how beautiful it is. So it's our responsibility to put those little things on their plates so they taste it, and they feel what they feel, right? To allow them to feel it, and then they can make a choice later on whether they enjoy it or not really, and how to go about pursuing it further. If it's absolutely their choice. As parents, it's just our job to put it in front of them, and let them decide how to tune to it in their own way.
It was very insightful. And as you rightly mentioned, giving them exposure will help them make a choice.
Correct. It's a huge benefit for the child, just giving them exposure um, uh, to whatever is available. And as parent, of course, as a parent, you are conscious of what your child picks up on, right? And you can take it from there, really. A lot of times the parents say, okay, we learn a lot through our children. We want to sit and attend the sessions with our child. We build enough interest in them that we hope that they try to pursue it further. It's such a fulfilling journey if you pursue classical music.
Absolutely. I think it's a best form of learning where we don't even realize that we are learning.
Yes, yes.
Given a choice to set the curriculum, what topics would you have included or excluded?
Okay, one of the obvious answers would be music. And I'm sure music is part of the curriculum in a lot of schools today. But I feel early music education hasn't deserved its value, hasn't gotten its true place in our school system. Because my area of interest is music, I would definitely want to see more of the primary, pre-primary schools adopting novel ways of introducing music to children. That's something I would definitely say, and we at Shrota House are working towards that. um, Apart from music, children can be given a lot of practical life skills, a lot of experiential learning. For example, I wouldn't say you learn some kind of financial stuff at a primary school level probably, but children grow over time. They grasp some things in very different ways over a period of time. How different kind of professionals come and talk to them, right? Say somebody who is an artist, theater artist, or somebody who is a doctor, teacher, or a pilot. So there are so many different professions that people choose today, very niche professions, not even these standard professions that we used to be told about. Have those people come and talk to children, just talk to them about their everyday lives at work, and I think that will give a lot of insights to children about what it takes to become somebody like them. Just to be aware of how the country functions, or how anything functions for that matter, right? So it's not about a learning theoretical subject, but it's a lot of experiential learning that might help children to really be able to face the world when they graduate from schools or colleges. So I think that is something which probably is lacking today. They know a lot of things, but are they really being put to use when they are going out there into the real world and working with real people, right? Relationship management is something that could be not really taught to them, but something that they could practice doing in schools, and a lot of schools do that too. Effective relationship management, effective money management, for example, how to be responsible, how to use your freedom, how to not misuse your power. What is power? What comes with it? These are some things that they can be exposed to at a high school level, saying that's when you start to be more individualistic and you have your own likings. So you have to go with the child's flow, you have to respect their individuality, and there should be some board of mentors in schools. I This is my personal opinion, where they're able to cater to each child's personal stories, their conflicts, because a lot of times children have conflict. So I want to do this. This gives me a lot of money. This gives me, they understand these things. When I was in high school, I didn't know a lot of these things myself. I used to listen to my parents. I used to respect my elders and just probably do some things because out of respect for them, and then learn some things in my own way, right? A lot of times I've ended up doing that. And there are a lot of other things I used to do, like experiment uh, my within myself. Let me try do this. Let me see if I like it. So there were these two sides of me always trying to play together. And today's children, they know a lot. They there is no dearth of knowledge, but there should be some mentors who give them some direction, who can be present to them whenever they need to be, and to address their emotional challenges, to address their conflicts or confusions, or to address their talents, to address peer pressure. A lot of times peers can be a big play a big role in the decisions you take, right? A lot of these small instances and experiences in your life sort of mold your decisions, big decisions of your life. So there should be mentors in the school who just understand children, uh, and who are with them in whatever decisions they make. So as far as subjects go, they can pick it up from anywhere. But these are the other things, which are small things at home, at a level of parents, the level of friends, that can really make huge difference in a child's decision making skills and the path they choose in their lives.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you about having a mentor.
Yes,
And we know the importance of a guru in one's life.
correct. And talking about classical music, this concept of having a guru who can help us, who can enlighten us about so many aspects around learning the subject and also leading a life, is a part of the music learning system of our art music, right? It's a part of the musical culture. And a lot of these things which are not really musical, but they come with the whole process of learning Indian classical music, is something I would like to also mention. It's not just music that you're learning when you're learning Indian classical music. There are a lot of values you learn. There are a lot of intellectual explorations you do. A lot of emotional explorations you do, and you become a very balanced person at the end of the day. At least you work towards becoming a true person. It takes you in the direction of purity. A guru plays such an important role. Of course, in any learning that takes place, guru has a place, is a very important place, a very important role to play in a child's life, right? That's definitely present in Indian classical music too. And we have a very very special place for guru. It's not even synonymous to a teacher. In some ways, it's much more than a teacher who's just teaching you things, right? So a lot of these concepts also come along with the whole journey. It's such a beautiful journey, and only if you are introduced to the journey in a way that makes you get into it and not get influenced by so many things that are going on around you. I think that's a big thing to do, and we at Shrota House do that.
Wonderful. And I really appreciate your dedication to your guru, as you were mentioning at the beginning of this episode.
Yes, yes. I'm extremely grateful. I cannot be more grateful or thankful to Professor Milind Malshe, my musical guru, who has given me the ABCs of music and helped me get so much exposure. I don't even know how to put it in words. It's some great learnings that I've had from my guru. Parents are also gurus. They mold you. They teach you so many things, right? And I think today's generation is has a very different approach, friendly approach with parents. We are all evolving as people also. Like my relationship with my parents very different from my relationship with my child, right? So we're all learning together. Everybody is learning, not just kids. It's not just the schools that we learn in. Everybody's learning every day. So it's all the process of learning, and we want to make it effective learning. And Shrota House also symbolizes effective learning and learning with joy and learning with love. Above and beyond music or the subject, I think the whole idea of learning with love is what we want to spread. We absolutely stand for it. And I hope Shrota House becomes, a place where you learn with love and you enjoy learning.
I'm curious to know more about your future plans for Shrota House as well.
Well, we have just started. We want to reach as many children as possible. That's probably our next immediate plan. We have a lot of programs for children, especially for children who don't come from musical families, that help them get introduced to Indian classical music. We planning on programs for elders also, elders who want to understand music, who haven't had the opportunity to like the music form or to get exposed to Indian classical music. We invite artists from all over the world to participate with us, to interact with our children, to have to talk to them and to have sessions with them, teach them some musical aspects, and create love for music in them. We do have artists, tie-ups with artists, and we have a lot of collaborations coming up.
Wonderful. And I really wish you all the best for your future. Lastly, we would love to hear you sing one of your favorites.
Okay, sure. So I personally like to sing a lot of different kinds of songs. I sing English pop numbers. I sing, of course, I sing Indian classical music. I experiment a lot. It makes me so happy, really. And so, yeah, on that note, I would like to sing a classical piece.
Sure.
Let me sing a small piece in Rag Durga. Rag Durga. रस कान्हा रे तुम हो, रस कान्हा रे तुम हो, रस कान्हा रे तुम हो, जग के निस्तार रस कान्हा रे तुम हो, जग के निस्तार रस कान्हा रे भव जल उतरो गुण नहीं मोहि, भव जल उतरो गुण नहीं मोहि, तुम ही लगाओ पार रस कान्हा रे तुम हो, रस कान्हा रे Thank you.
So beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Madhumita. It was amazing to have you here.
Thank you, Gautam, for inviting me in Learn and Unlearn. And I congratulate you for doing the podcast series. Great that you're able to talk with the people about learning. It's one of my favorite topics too. So I'm extremely happy to have been part of this. Thanks again for inviting me.
Thanks for listening. I would love to know your thoughts. You can find my contact details in the description section. I'll see you in the next episode.